Hey boys and girls, our reading objectives today to get started are going to be comparing and contrasting important points and key details in two texts that are on the same topic. Today you're just going to hear one of the texts that I will be reading to you, and then tomorrow we will hear another one, and then we'll compare and contrast those, talking about how they're the same and how they're different. Then we're going to distinguish your point of view from the narrator and the characters, and distinguish literal and non-literal word meanings in contest. I think that should be context. Today I'm going to read you a true story about a woman named Wilma Rudoph. As you listen, I want you to pay attention to the important details that are in the text. And so what I would like you to do, it says in here, if you wish you can write them down to help you remember what when we discuss the story after I finished reading. But what you can do is I'm going to read the text to you. You can keep your reading response journal right next to you. Have it open up to your next page that's inside the reading lessons section. So open up to that reading lesson section, and when you do that, title it Wilma Rudoph and put the date. So put today's date. So right now what you can do is you can pause this video, write down Wilma Rudoph, which is right up here at the top. See how I'm showing you with the arrow? Write that there, write today's date, and then as you hear information that is important about Wilma Rudoph, you can pull that, you can write that information down. So you can pause the video, write down that key important detail, and then you will have it when we visit and discuss this text later on. So I actually have the story here. I don't know if you can see it, and I'm going to read from here, and I have the pictures up on your screen right now. This is called Wilma Unlimited, and it's how Wilma Rudoph became the world's fastest woman. It's written by Kathleen Kroll and illustrated by David Diaz. Wilma Unlimited. What I love right here is just kind of some of the things that make it look like, well, I'm going to let you see if you can just listen to the text in here. So this story's been dedicated to two strong grandmothers, Margaret Folliard and Agnes Jungblad, I'm not sure, and that's from the author. So a lot of times authors and illustrators will dedicate their books to somebody who's inspired them. And then the illustrator dedicated their text to Ariel, their little buff man. So here we go. We're going to get started. No one expected such a tiny girl to have a first birthday. In Clarksville, Tennessee, in 1940, life for a baby who weighed just over 4 pounds at birth was sure to be limited. But most babies didn't have 19 older brothers and sisters to watch over them. Most babies didn't have a mother who knew home remedies and a father who worked several jobs. Most babies weren't Wilma Rudoph. Wilma did celebrate her first birthday, and everyone noticed that as soon as this girl could walk, she ran or jumped instead. She worried people, though. She was always so small and sickly. If a brother or sister had a cold, she got double pneumonia. If one of them had measles, Wilma got the measles too, plus mumps and the chicken pox. Her mother always nursed her at home. Doctors were a luxury for the Rudoph family, and anyway, only one doctor in Clarksville would treat black people. So sad. Just before Wilma turned 5, that's the wrong picture. That was that one. We have a missing picture for you guys. I'm so sorry. Nope, there we go. I'm on it right now. Just before Wilma turned 5, she got sicker than ever. Her sisters and brothers heaped all of the family's blankets on her, trying to keep her warm. During that sickness, Wilma's left leg twisted inward, and she couldn't move it back. Not even Wilma's mother knew what was wrong. The doctor came to see her then. Besides scarlet fever, he said, Wilma had been stricken with polio. In those days, most children who got polio either died or were permanently crippled. There was no cure. The news spread around Clarksville. Wilma, that lively girl, would never walk again. I think this would be a good time for you to kind of sit down and reflect on what we've read so far. So pause the video for a minute. Thinking about this is a young girl who lived in Clarksville, Tennessee. She had 19 brothers and sisters who were older than her. Her father worked several jobs to take care of the family. She got sick very often, and so what we know now about Wilma is that she had scarlet fever and polio, which was a terrible, terrible disease during that time. And those would be some important facts that you would want to write down. But Wilma kept moving any way she could. By hopping on one foot, she could get herself around the house, to the outhouse in the backyard, and even on Sundays to church. Wilma's mother urged her on. Mrs. Rudoph said they had plenty to do: cooking, cleaning, sewing, pattern flour sacks into clothes for her children. Now there were 22 in all. 22 children. Yikes. Yet twice every week she and Wilma took the bus to the nearest hospital that would treat black patients, some 50 miles away in Nashville. They rode together in the back, the only place blacks were allowed to sit. Blacks were only allowed to sit in the back of the bus during that time. Doctors and nurses at the hospital helped Wilma do exercises to make her paralyzed legs stronger. At home, Wilma practiced them constantly, even when it hurt. To Wilma, what hurt most was that the local school wouldn't let her attend because she couldn't walk. Tearful and lonely, she watched her brothers and sisters run off to school each day, leaving her behind. Finally, tired of crying all the time, she decided she had to fight back somehow. Wilma worked so hard at her exercises that the doctors decided she was ready for a heavy steel brace. With the brace supporting her leg, she didn't have to hop anymore. School was possible at last, but it wasn't the happy place she had imagined. Her classmates made fun of her brace. During playground games, she could only sit on the sidelines, twitching with impatience. She studied the other kids for hours, memorizing moves, watching the ball zoom the rim of the bushel basket they used as a hoop. Wilma fought the sadness by doing more leg exercises. Her family always cheered her on, and Wilma did everything she could to keep them from worrying about her. At times, her leg really did seem to be getting stronger. Other times, it just hurt. One Sunday on her way to church, Wilma felt especially good. She and her family had always found strength in their faith, and church was Wilma's favorite place in the world. Everyone she knew would be there, talking, laughing, praying, and singing. It would be just the place to try the bravest thing she'd ever done. She hung back while the people filled the old building, standing alone, the sound of hymns coloring the air. She unbuckled her heavy brace and set it by the church's front door. Taking a deep breath, she moved, one foot in front of the other. Her knees were trembling violently. She took her mind off her knee by concentrating on taking another breath, and then another. How awesome is that? So she worked hard enough so far. This might be a great place to pause, to be able to walk so that she could go to school. And now she's brave and she's not giving up, and she keeps doing those exercises, and now she's going to try to walk at church without the brace. What do you think is going to happen? I wonder. It's kind of slow. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. They're all there at church. Look at her little face. Whispers rippled through the gathering. Wilma Rudoph was walking, row by row, heads turned toward her as she walked alone down the aisle. Her large family, all her friends, everyone from school, Each person stared wide-eyed. The singing never stopped. It seemed to burst right through the walls and into the trees. Finally, Wilma reached a seat in the front and began singing too. Her smile was triumphant. Wilma practiced walking as often as she could after that, and when she was 12 years old, she was able to take off the brace for good. She and her mother realized she could get along without it, so one memorable day, they wrapped the hated brace in a box and mailed it back to the hospital. As soon as Wilma sent the box away, she knew her life was beginning over again. After years of sitting on the sidelines, Wilma couldn't wait to throw herself into basketball, the game she had most loved to watch. She was skinny, but no longer tiny. Her long legs would propel her across the court, through the air. She knew all the rules and all of the moves. In high school, she led her basketball team to one victory after another. Eventually, she took the team all the way to the Tennessee State Championships. There, to everyone's astonishment, her team lost. Wilma had become accustomed to winning. Now she slumped on the bench. All liveliness was knocked out of her. But at the game that day was a coach. He admired Wilma's basketball playing, but was especially impressed by the way she ran. He wanted her for his track and field team. With his help, Wilma won a full athletic scholarship to Tennessee State University. She was the first member of her family to go to college. What a great milestone, too. So 8 years after she mailed away her brace, Wilma's long legs and years of hard work carried her thousands of miles from Clarksville, Tennessee. The summer of 1960, she arrived in Rome, Italy to represent the United States in the Olympic Games as a runner. Just participating in the Olympics was a deeply personal victory for Wilma, but her chances of winning a race were limited. Simply walking in Rome's shimmering heat was a chore, and athletes from other countries had run faster races than Wilma ever had. Women weren't thought to run very well. Anyway, track and field was considered a sport for men, and the pressure from the public was intense. For the first time ever, the Olympics would be shown on television, and all the athletes that knew more than 100 million people would be watching all of them. Worst of all, Wilma had twisted her ankle as she arrived in Rome. It was swollen and painful on her first race. Yet once it was her turn to compete, Wilma forgot about her ankle and everything else. She lunged forward, not thinking about her fear, her pain, or the sweat flying off her face. She ran better than she had ever ran before, and better than anyone else, grabbing the attention of the whole world. Wilma Rudoph of the United States won the 100-meter dash. No one even came close. An Olympic gold medal was hers to take home. So when it was time for the 200-meter dash, Wilma's graceful long legs were already famous. Her ears buzzed with the sound of the crowd chanting her name. Such support helped her ignore the rain that was beginning to fall. At the crack of the starting gun, she surged into the humid air like a tornado. When she crossed the finish line, she'd done it again. She finished far ahead of everyone else. She had earned her second gold medal. Wet and breathless, Wilma was exhilarated by the double triumph. The crowd went wild. The 400-meter relay was yet to come. Wilma's team faced the toughest competition of all, and as the fourth and final runner on her team, it was Wilma who had to cross the finish line. I wonder if she can do it. Wilma's teammates ran well, passed the baton smoothly, and kept the team in first place. Wilma readied herself for the dash to the finish line as her third teammate ran toward her. She reached back for the baton and nearly dropped it. As she tried to recover from the fumble, two other runners sped past her. Wilma and her team were suddenly in third place. Ever since the day she had walked down the aisle at church, Wilma had known the power of concentration. Now, legs pumping, she put her mind to work. In final electrifying bursts of speed, she pulled ahead. By a fraction of a second, she was the first to blast across the finish line. The thundering cheers matched the thundering in her own heart. She made history a third time. At her ceremony that day, the band played the Star-Spangled Banner. Wilma stood tall and still like a queen, the last of her 3 Olympic gold medals hanging around her neck. Wilma Rudoph was known as the sickliest child in Clarksville, was the fastest woman in the world.